Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to another FGO video. Today I'm going to be going over my top 5 picks for the upcoming SSR ticket we're going to be getting on NA soon. For those of you who are unaware, we will be getting a ticket for the next download campaign that will allow you to select a free SSR from the permanent pool of servants you see on the screen now. A little disclaimer before we get into the video: everything I'm going to say is very generic in nature and doesn't factor in the very specific things you may or may not be lacking on your account. The reason I'm picking these 5 servants in particular is because I think they're useful regardless of what point in the game you're at, and I think they're all servants you should strive to get at one point or another. Just because a servant is not listed here does not mean they're not worth getting. At the end of the day, you should be using this SSR ticket to make your account more well-rounded. So if you think your account is severely lacking in the AoE Saber department, then by all means, any of the 3 available sabers would be really good for you. But if there isn't anything in particular you're lacking, I highly recommend considering one of these 5 servants. Tamamo. Tamamo, by all accounts, is a phenomenal servant. She can decrease an enemy's MP charge, increase an ally's arts card effectiveness, supply the party with an MP damage up buff, and has a slew of other utilities like healing and skill cooldown reduction. Tamamo has been the face of arts supports for many years now, and the only reason I don't have Tamamo listed higher is because of Castoria's impending release. While Castoria by no means invalidates Tamamo's existence, Tamamo's role is going to be relegated more to a plug suit support, whose job is to give your arts setups a little more oomph to their damage when they need it. Most people on JP incorporate either her or Oberon into their arts setup for harder content, such as challenge quests, so I think she's still worth getting in the long term. Jack. Jack is one of the best single target assassins in the game. Not only is her damage output phenomenal, but she is also really good at supplying crit stars for both herself and her allies. Now, in my personal opinion, I think Kama is a better single target assassin when compared to Jack in most situations. However, there are scenarios where Jack can outclass Kama, particularly against female enemies that apply a lot of buffs, and or enemies that are immune to Kama's NP charm. Regardless, in this scenario, Jack is free and Kama isn't, and I don't think there's a big enough gap between the two of them to really justify you rolling for Kama if you're fine getting Jack instead. Ozymandias. Ozymandias is a very versatile unit that's going to be good for any account, but even more so for accounts that are fairly new and don't have a lot of 5 stars. This is because Ozzy's kit allows him to be either a DPS unit or a pseudo support for other servants. Once Ozzy gets his buffs in 2023, he will not only be able to supply a party-wide attack up buff, but also a party-wide critical up buff. In addition to this, he can also act as a source of star generation. Ozzy also has a few other buffs, such as a 20% MP battery he can apply to the party. The best thing about Ozzy is that he himself is a great single target DPS, meaning you can use him as either a supporting unit for your other servants, or as the main DPS you use to clear a fight. Just keep in mind that Ozzy isn't a full-blown support, so he isn't going to be as impactful to your other servants as Tamamo or Waver might be. Enkidu. Enkidu is a unit that's very notorious for being able to solo clear a lot of challenging content. This is because Enkidu is able to provide themselves with a ludicrous amount of self-sustain while still maintaining a high damage output, particularly against units with the Threat Against Humanity trait. Enkidu is also able to stun divine enemies with their MP, which, when used in conjunction with their evade and massive self-heal, makes it so you can stall out some fights indefinitely if you wanted to. Enkidu is a very effective boss killer that doesn't need much, if any, outside assistance to be good, but if you do have supports, they just make Enkidu all the better. Waver. It should come as no surprise that Waver is my number 1 pick. Waver is just one of those units that everyone should pick up sooner or later. He offers a party-wide attack up buff, defense up buff, and damage reduction buff. He also has a fairly sizable crit steroid that he can apply to one ally, but his main draw is his ability to be a 50% MP battery. Waver has a party-wide 10% MP battery built into both his second and third skills, and a 30% MP battery built into his first. I think a lot of newer players really undervalue MP batteries. MP batteries equal more MPs, which in turn means significantly more damage output, even if that's not reflected in the raw numbers you're seeing on the screen. Not to mention, Waver's MP also provides a whole slew of useful debuffs that can come in handy when doing challenge quests. And the absolute best part about Waver is how versatile he is. An attack up buff, crit steroid, and 50% MP battery can be useful to a DPS of any card type, so Waver helps to improve your art, buster, and quick DPS units. Anyways, that about wraps this video up. Like I always say in these kinds of videos, this is just my opinion, and you should really try and deduce what your account needs the most, and use this ticket as a means to get it. Alternatively, if there's just a unit you really like, then choosing someone for no other reason than that is perfectly valid. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you again in the next one. Later.